Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. Glad to have you here today on our Training Thursday edition of the Cabral Concept. Today, we are going to be talking about how to regain your abs and core strength as you age. So I get a lot of questions around, what do I do to flatten my tummy? Or what do I do to work on my abs? Or how do I get rid of this nagging lower back pain I seem to be dealing with? Or why am I getting stiffer in my hips and lower back as I'm getting older? Or why does it take so long to loosen up when I get out of bed in the morning? These are all really great questions. These are things that I've been talking about for many, many years, decades now, and I love to teach on. So let's dive right into the show. And really what we want to understand is that when we talk about our core or we talk about our, stomach muscles, what we want to be talking about is the entire musculature from below your chest right down to the top of your hips. And that is your core. But your core is not just the muscles that you can see in the mirror or where your abs were once, where you want them to be. You know what I'm saying. So when you look at this, you want to say, okay, everything from below your chest, your pectoral muscles, all the way down to your hip bones, that's your core. But you also want to understand what that is because it's not just abdominal muscles, okay? So we have something inside and around the spine, essentially, is a group of muscles that acts as our own weightlifting belt. So maybe you've seen in the gym, or maybe you've even used one yourself, of a weightlifting belt. So basically, you put it around your waist, you cinch it tight, and it kind of keeps everything where it should be so that you don't strain too much, get a hernia, you can push against the belt, etc. But when I was working full-time as a personal trainer and strength and conditioning specialist, I never had anybody wear a weightlifting belt except when working with specific athletes where we were working on it based on doing a PR-based movement and a squat or a deadlift, and they were competing, so it was competitive style. But besides that, I would never do it. And the reason is that you want to strengthen your own internal weight belt yourself. And so that means not just working in your abs, but something called the transverse abdominis. Now, the transverse abdominis is going to go deeper below the abs you can't see. The abs you can see when the stomach is lean are called the rectus abdominis. Now, again, I'm not telling anybody that you need six-pack abs. That's not what I'm saying at all. Like, that's not it. What I'm saying is we need to get the core muscles strong, though, or you could be the 8 out of 10 people that eventually have lower back issues, whether it's just stiffness and lack of mobility or it's actual pain. And the reason why this topic came about, actually, and again, it always comes about from, my life and my work and my practice, is that I was at a conference and I overheard one of the people at the conference actually what's called slipped a disc. I'm not going to get into that today. But the reason why their disc did slip, so meaning like inside each vertebrae is going to have a cushion in between each vertebrae. That's the disc. And over time, from too much sitting, which is compression on the spine, so basically all your upper body weight goes right into that bottom of your hips, right? Bottom of the chair, into the chair. And that compresses the spine. We have poor posture, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that is essentially from, though, over time, these core muscles getting weaker. All right, so erector spinae in the back. We have the lat muscles. They connect down into the core, the latissimus dorsi. We have something called the multifidus. People consider that mid part of the back, part of the core. The psoas muscles, you probably maybe heard about those before. That's the front of the hips. They can get really tight. But guess what? They also connect towards your lower thoracic spine and upper lumbar spine, and those are your psoas muscles. So believe it or not, they actually affect your lower back too. The transverse abdominis we spoke about, the rectus abdominis, and then your obliques. Those are the muscles on the side. They live under the love handles, and that are really important muscles because they're going to help as well with rotation and keeping everything in tight. So those are the main muscles we typically refer to as part of the core. And I'm just looking up the podcast number here. It's actually 2295 today. So if you want a photo of the core muscles, head on over to stephencabral.com/2295. stephencabral.com/2295. I'll pop that right over there with the 3 big takeaways for today's show as well. Okay. So what I want to do now, though, is take you through, well, what do you do to get to get them stronger again? I mean, that's really what you want. I've got lots of shows on fat loss, weight loss, what causes weight gain, all those different things. And I'll link up all my weight loss shows today as well at 2295. But what I want to share with you right now is that too many people are making the mistake and actually making the problem worse by saying, I want better abs, I want a stronger core, so I'm going to go do sit-ups and crunches because, again, like media-based commercials, infomercials, the what was that ab blaster back in the past? What was that thing called? It was like a rocker. Basically, you just lied down and kind of like rocked away on it. That's exactly what you don't want to do, right? So that's like the exact opposite of how you don't want to strengthen your core. And the reason is that it doesn't strengthen your core. So we look at our abs as strengthening our core, but believe it or not, what are we doing? Okay, when you crunch forward, you're tightening your abs, okay? So your rectus abdominis, you're tightening your psoas, but you're tightening all the muscles in the front of the body. That's the anterior chain. I've got a show on anterior and posterior chain. It is actually exciting stuff. That's from way back in the day. I will try to link it up. But the problem is, so when you crunch the front side, when you tighten the front side, you stretch the back side. So that's the erector spinae in your lower back. And we could get into other muscles as well, like quadratus laborum, but I'm not going to. And the problem is, though, the muscles in the front become overly tight. The muscles in the back are going to be more elongated. Now, they may tighten up afterwards. There's no doubt about it, but they become very weak. So we're neglecting the entire posterior chain, the entire backside of the body. And when you do that, it's a recipe for disaster. So then you get the herniated discs, or you get the slipped discs, or you get a bulging disc, right? You might have heard of these things before. And then, well, what do they do when you go to the doctor? Well, they recommend surgery. That is not what you want to do except last resort. Because I always say to people, you can't go back from surgery. I know so many people in my own family, friend circle that have had surgery. And again, there's always side effects from it too. Now, sometimes surgery is inevitable. I'm not going to say that it's not. So I'm not saying that. Sometimes things have gone too far or there was an accident and surgery is necessary. Again, I'm not saying anything negative about that. I have friends and colleagues that are surgeons and they do amazing work. What I'm saying to you is this. We need to exhaust all possibilities before surgery or pharmaceuticals are undertaken unless it is acute-based medical care where life is in danger. Like, no doubt about it. That is how I feel. You can feel differently. That's okay. But I would love for you to at least try a natural-based method. And, when in doubt, work with a really qualified personal trainer or strength and conditioning specialist, functional movement specialist, National Academy of Sports Medicine, ACSM-based personal trainer. Like, they're going to have enough knowledge to be able to help you strengthen your core. But either way, I'm going to give you it right now. Okay, so I just want to make sure that you know what you should be doing and looking for so you can do it on your own or, of course, with a professional. All right, so here we go. What I want you to do is that you make sure that you strengthen these muscles on at least an every other day basis. So people pretend it's like a chest workout or a leg workout. They do it once a week. I would not advise that, okay? Not until you get balanced and strong and you're still doing your daily core-based exercise, at least every other day. Eventually, you could do them daily if you want. Let me go through and then I'll kind of do a summary as well for you at the end. So again, forget about the crunches, forget about the sit-ups, at least in the beginning. Do I think everybody should be able to do a full sit-up on their own? Of course I do. Absolutely, 100%. You should be able to sit up without using your hands. No doubt about it. It's a great sign of how youthful your body still is. Right? And by youthful, I mean like biologically youthful. Because I know people, no doubt about it, I've worked with teenagers and young 20s that could not sit up on their own without using their hands. All right? You should be able to do that, but you don't have to do it right away. All right. So where are we going to start? We're going to start with what's called isometric exercises. That means there's no movement, but there is tension. It's called intra-abdominal tension. All right, we're causing it from the inside. Why do you want to do that? Because it's literally the safest way that you can start to strengthen these muscles and you're fatiguing them through holding them tight for a certain period of time. And that's important because it builds endurance back into those muscles as well, besides strength. So the two best exercises, there's lots of great exercises, don't get me wrong. Like the plank is a great exercise, but the problem with the plank is I see way too many people dipping their hips really low. Right? So they're sagging their hips down and they're putting just more pressure on their back. They're not doing it correctly. I always told clients to err on the side of keeping your hips a little higher. So if you do a plank, just keep your hips a little higher than parallel. Keep the abs contracted tight, like you're trying to cinch everything in tight. All right. Here are the two that I do like the best. The first one is the bridge. You'll be able to find all these exercises. So it's not like, you can't find a bridge, photo on your own, but what you want to do is you hold a small ball or towel between your knees. All right. The reason you want to do that is if you let your knees flare out, the human body is amazing at compensating. Your hamstrings will be on fire. Your calves will be on fire. You get up on the balls of your feet, which you shouldn't do. And that's an issue. It's an issue because you're using basically everything except your glutes and lower back, which is what you should be doing. So you focus on your glutes and you focus on your lower back and you do a bridge and you just hold it from whatever's comfortable. Again, don't hurt yourself. You're just starting back out. Okay. Hold it for somewhere between 20 seconds and 60 seconds. That is ideal. Small ball or rolled up towel between the knees. The next one is chops. I love chops, but don't twist your upper body when you do them because you can hurt yourself in the beginning. Again, so what you're doing is you're doing a chop, same movement. You hold the band to one side and you're going to come across your shoulders, right? So you step back if you're watching this on video, and hopefully you are joining us on YouTube, right at stephencabral.com/2295. I'm going to step back, do one, and then I'll explain it if you're not watching on video. So when I did that, chopped across my body, all I moved was my thoracic spine. That's my upper back. My lower body, my lower back didn't move and my head didn't move. I looked straight ahead the whole time. And what that happens is then I'm stretching my obliques and my core muscles from one side, then tightening those ones and stretching the other side. But what I'm not doing is rotating my lower back where injury can occur. So you're doing chops, but they're essentially isometric chops because your arms are moving across your body, but your waist is not. And that's super important because that's a safe way to do it. Eventually, you can certainly do some rotation. I don't have an issue with that, but let's get those muscles strengthened first. All right, so those are your first two. You probably do them for like 2 to 4 weeks. And then once you start to really build up the glute muscles, believe it or not, which help to support the lower back and those core muscles, then you'll move on to an exercise that you may or may not have heard before called the Superman's or Superwoman's pose. All right. That's a great exercise to do. You could also do what's called a bird dog instead. That's a little bit more beginner, and that's great if you are a little bit more of a beginner. So I would definitely recommend those two. Those are excellent. They work a little bit more on balance. And then the Superman's is a little bit more advanced. And again, strengthening what? Well, the erector spinae, multifidus, even gets in your traps and your lower back glutes as well. So I'm a fan of that one. Just go easy. Don't overextend, especially if you're feeling a little bit tight. And then maybe in that same category, I would put a V pose. So it's called the boat pose in yoga sometimes. You're just seated in a V. That's all. You're just seated in a V. You want to be a little stronger to do that one though. And you just hold. Your legs are out straight, your arms are out, and you're just breathing and keeping everything isometrically tight. That can be your next 2 to 4 weeks, all right? Now, you don't have to stop doing your bridges and chops. These would be add-ons, okay? And again, you could do them every other day if you wanted to, but you're always working on just making those muscles strong. And by the way, each one of these takes 60 seconds. That's it. And you only need to do them once or twice. That's all. Like that's literally it. So we're talking about maybe 4 minutes of your day, right? I mean, that's honestly it. Maybe 5 minutes maximum. And you can add it to any workout you want as part of the as part of the warm-up sequence, dynamic warm-ups. That would be fine. All right. So the next part would be now adding in something workout-wise that's more challenging for the core. And I love doing these even sometimes from the beginning. And these are basically, they're called unilateral exercises. And so let's say you're on a cable machine, you put one foot forward, 1 foot back, and you're just doing a one-arm chest press, right? So if you're watching this video, but the other arm is moving in conjunction with it. So it's actually pushing out for a chest press and then pulling back. And you can do the same for a row, right? So now we're just doing the row. It looks like a chest press, but now you're pulling backwards. And so it's a great exercise to do because the core muscles are engaged. You're keeping them tight, but now you're working your chest or back and back at the same time. So really love that one. And also something like let's stick with the cables for a moment, a one leg reach. So, or like what looks like a one leg Romanian deadlift. So you're balancing on one leg, you reach towards the cable machine and you pull back up. Well, you have to keep that core steady. If not, you're going to fall over. You could even just do a cone touch. We used to do cone touches as a part of a warm up all the time. Lean forward, touch the cone with the opposite hand of the leg that's on the ground, and then come back up, try to keep one leg off the ground the whole time. Great exercise. All right, so that's phase 3, or just kind of add that in the beginning, but go easy if the core isn't strong yet. Now, the last part can be adding in dynamic movements. This is after the core is already strong. Now you can start to get into things like a V pose with an arm twist, or medicine ball rotations, or actual sit-ups, or hanging leg raises, like whatever you want to do for those more advanced ab exercises. If your core is strong, isometrically strong, you have the thoracic mobility, which means flexibility in your upper back, you're going to be able to then take things to the next level. But don't start there. Too many people start at the finish line, essentially, at the end. Don't do that. I mean, because I don't want you to hurt yourself. So if we do this slow, no big deal, right? Over the course of 6 weeks, 8 weeks, you're going to have your abs the rest of your life. Then you can work into these more advanced exercises. Here's one more note that I want to leave you with. I'll take people who already are in good shape, but they didn't do these foundational things, and you wouldn't believe how much of a challenge. I know a lot of the personal trainers listening to this will totally get what I'm talking about. You can have people shaking like a leaf doing a V pose, like a boat pose in yoga. And a lot of yoga instructors, of course, will know this, or Pilates instructors. Or have them do a bridge, and you put the towel between their knees, and they literally can only hold it for like 20 seconds, and they're in great shape. They forgot about the foundation. Right? It's a fully made house, but a weak foundation. So we do that, and guess what? Well, their physique gets even better, their strength gets even better, and they get rid of all those little nagging injuries that they once had. So I can't recommend this enough. We also have all these different exercises inside of the iUbowen app. So of course, you can find them on your own. You can work with your personal trainer. But if you're an iUbowen member, all of these are free inside of the app. So definitely check those out as well. If you haven't heard about the app, it did just launch, but I would love for you to check it out. It's at stevencabral.com/app. By the way, it's completely free. It's a $100 a month app, completely free. Yours free for all iUbowen-based members. Again, we just want to try to provide for you everything we can on your way to living the healthiest life possible. Hopefully this was helpful. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care. Appreciate the support. Any questions, always reach out. We're there for you. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Steven Cabral. And that's Steven with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.